Hi, I'm Shannon,
And I'm Ernest.
and today we're going to tell you a little bit about the process that it took to develop the Written on the Land exhibit that'll open here in History, Colorado.
As Executive Director for the Colorado Commission of Indian Affairs, which was created over 40 years ago to be the official state liaison between the two Ute tribes, the Ute Mountain Ute Tribe, Southern Ute Tribe, and our state agencies, my office really serves as that state liaison. I work with Governor Hickenlooper and Lieutenant Governor Lynn and numerous other state, federal, and local entities to ensure that that tribal voice is at the table and that the concerns and policies that are impacting tribal communities are addressed.
And I'm the Director of Exhibit Planning, and what that really means is that I'm on the front end of planning exhibits. So everything from getting to know the stakeholders to applying for grants and thinking about budgets and photographs and writing and all that sort of thing. So it's more on the early side, not quite as much the building side of the museum, although I help those folks when they trust me with a drill.
So there's many steps and stages to this process of developing an exhibit. One of the most important things is consultations, and I think that's something that Shannon, you and your team here did such a great job at. How did that work? How did that process come together?
Thank you. So consultations are a very formal process of government to government agencies getting together and talking about an idea and really listening. So for us, for this exhibit, it meant setting out the agenda weeks in advance and having folks from the three Ute tribes come together and meet with us and react and give us input to the exhibit ideas.
And so that just wasn't done here in History, Colorado. That was done across the state.
That's
right?
true. We had 19 meetings face to face, and they were in Toyac, they were here, they were in Montrose, they were kind of all over the state.
And one thing that I've always found fascinating is that isn't it something like the majority of artifacts in museums never even get to an exhibit?
Yeah.
That they're in storage. I mean, how did you choose
Yep.
in the process what would be presented? What would going to be in the exhibit?
Well, I think one of the things that we really started with was a complete open slate. Like, what do tribal representatives want this place to be? And we started from you all. Like, we didn't say, here's the 10 historical points that we want to cover, and here's the 5 artifacts. We came in just, what should this place be? What do you want it to be for your grandkids? What do you want it to be for school kids in Denver? What's important to you that people know? And so a lot of times the conversations would be sort of circuitous and kind of all over the map, but we would glean what's Terry telling us right now? What's Alden saying? What's important to Betsy that we're hearing? And then we go and write some words down and share them again, and people say, not quite that, or not quite that. So really the history and the daily lives came all from the tribal reps. We didn't come in with an outline. We listened for a long time, and we were hearing themes and guidance emerge from all the tribal representatives, and we kind of came away with some guiding statements. And we started maybe more with ideas first. You know, we aren't dusty people. We're alive. We're here right now. We don't want to be just black and white. We want lots of color in the exhibit. Those kinds of big guiding statements. And then we started looking at artifacts and saying, what do you think? Should this go in the exhibit? Should this go in the exhibit?
Because artifacts can be a pretty controversial thing sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And because we were at the Ute Indian Museum, we could walk around with all the tribal reps and decide, oh, they don't like that, and that shouldn't be on display. That it's sacred, or it's sensitive, or no, or it's displayed slightly the wrong way. But then there were certainly some amazing artifacts that folks were excited about sharing, and some things that have never been on display before will be coming out here in Denver and as well in Montrose.
So would you say that in the relationship that History Colorado has had with the tribes going back, even talking about very sensitive issues and important issues like issues around Native American Graves Protection Repatriation Act efforts, or state processes, or lack of attention to some of these issues, that the Ute tribes in History Colorado, in developing their relationship, would you say that that helped in the building of this exhibit?
Oh, absolutely. You know, we really had to kind of sensitively figure out how to bring up some topics that people might want to learn about, or that the tribal leaders wanted us to talk about, but how to do it ethically, authentically, responsibly, sensitively, was really a delicate balance of trying something out, collecting feedback, editing, trying it again. So it was just very iterative, lots of trial and error, but we are so thankful that this museum, History Colorado, has been doing great things with NAGPRA for so long, which is the Native American Graves and Repatriation Act. Our predecessors, before you and me, built a really strong relationship and had some hard conversations about returning things. And I think that relationship and the continuation of that relationship, because we are still actively working on NAGPRA issues as a state agency, it means that people have to have hard conversations and they have to trust each other with really sensitive things.
Right. I think one of the things that you and the team here did really well, something that the questions that the Colorado Commission of Indian Affairs, our office, gets all the time, is cultural appropriation. When some communities believe that they're honoring American Indians or American Indian history or American Indian culture, when in fact they really don't know that they're doing more of a disservice than an honorable service. And when we create these exhibits that perpetuate this romanticized view of American Indian history and culture, we're just extending that perspective, which is sometimes a very wrong perspective to have. In your conversations with the tribes through these consultations, clearly there was some of those things in there.
Yep.
Should certain things be displayed? Should they not? How should they be displayed? Should we even talk about those? There was even some conversations that I remember having or being a part of where tribal elders said, absolutely, we should not be talking about that. And there has to be a level of respect for that. I mean, there clearly does. I think that's the relationship that your team had in going into that conversation.
I think the stereotyping piece, you know, it came from everything, from the photos on the banners. You know, we just 2 weeks ago had a conversation about these are Ute kids that we're going to put on a billboard. And can we do that? Can we, History Colorado, can we put Ute royalty kids on a great big banner? Is that cultural appropriation? And we talked about it, and we talked about royalty. I called you up, and I was kind of panicky. And you talked about how Ute royalty is their job is to be ambassadors for the tribe and to teach other folks what it means to be Ute and what the regalia means and all that sort of stuff. So it's there all the time. How do you teach, share without appropriate? That's what I think we, Liz, Sheila, and I, just all the time, we're like, are we hitting the right balance? Are we perpetuating stereotypes, or are we informing folks in a sensitive way? So, Ernest, this team, we learned a lot along the way, and it was a 5-year development process with some hiccups along the way a little bit. But I'm wondering when you saw us listen. You know, listen was a word that tribal reps have used a lot, and they've told us a lot about kind of putting down your paper, listen. When did you guys see us listen authentically?
I look back on, I guess, numerous points along the way where I felt maybe not only the team maybe not have been listening as intently as they could have been, but also maybe I wasn't listening as well as I should have been to my own tribal representatives. And I think that's why I really thought that this exhibit came together so well, that after all that process calmed down, that slow to speak quick to listen, slow to speak process, that motto, once it sank in and the staff truly understood where that came from, then they were opening up other senses to be receptive and being more open to those other ideas, even if they were never intended to be put on the wall, even if they were never intended to be put in the exhibit. To just share that story. I think that there was a couple different points, but I remember having the conversation several years ago when this exhibit was proposed at a tribal council tree powwow in Delta, Colorado, and funding was lost, and then it got reinstated, and then it got pulled back again, and we kind of went back and forth.
Yep.
And from a tribal perspective, that kind of repeats this historical narrative that we're always in the mix with. Why should we invest if a state agency is not going to invest, especially a museum,
Yeah.
especially an institution that's supposed to educate the public about our people? It's always been from your lens, from your point of view. And I think that it takes those 5-year processes, that long-term development, I think, to truly come to a very meaningful process.
And also, I think our timeline typically has been the driver. Like, oh, we're ready. Let's get together. You know, let's consult
that's a great
next
point.
week.
Yeah.
No, that's not the way it works. What is your season?
And I think the more that you spend, and that's why I think it was so important of getting out of Denver,
Yeah, totally.
getting out of the Front Range, going and visiting these tribes in their communities, showed that the institution, the History Colorado, was truly invested in their community, that they were in it for the long haul, whatever that turned out to be. And I think along that process, by the end of it, I started to see numerous examples of communication, respect, and friendship
Yeah.
that ultimately came out of such an amazing effort.
So Ernest, I'm curious, we in Denver have lots of tribes. In fact, 48 tribes call Colorado home. The Ute tribes are 3 of those 48. Tell me how you think this exhibit is going to inform, talk about History Colorado's commitment to working with other tribes.
Denver has always been a hub of Indian country. It's always been coined a crossroads of Indian country. And it's no surprise that tribes are seeing this relationship unfold as well. They're following it just as closely in Oklahoma, in Montana, in New Mexico. So I think it sets a bar. I think that your work and your effort, your dedication and your commitment to the process ensures that not just institutions like History Colorado, but other states, other institutions within Colorado follow that model. What is that model? Have we created that model? We definitely have a lot of places to learn from, and we still have a long ways to go.
Yeah.
But I think that these type of exhibits, they put an effort out there of structuring a relationship when in 1990, when Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act was passed at the federal level, people were fearful from museums and institutions that these artifacts were going to be removed from shelves,
Yeah.
that nobody was going to come into the doors and these institutions were going to fall.
Yeah.
These type of partnerships clearly have shown a way that this relationship can work, that archaeologists, anthropologists, curators can actually meet with tribes across the table, that to elevate the tribal voice. And I think that that's exactly the type of effort that tribes are wanting to see. They're wanting to just be at the table. They're wanting to be acknowledged, and they're wanting to be in the driver's seat. And I think this type of effort definitely showed those.
I feel like we're facilitators. We get the room, get the people, and we listen and create a place for these conversations to happen. And we got kind of good at it, but I think just knowing that role, we're not the drivers, the tribes are. We're not the ones telling the stories and setting the agendas and having the content outlined like I might in a different exhibit. We're facilitators and listeners.
Absolutely, and I think we're starting to see and hear from other tribes and other states that are wanting that type of relationship, that for tribes like mine at the Ute Mountain Ute Tribe, maybe not have the resources at this moment to build our own museums, how can we learn? How can we build this relationship so that eventually we might be able to develop our own museum? What does that look like? That's the type of long-term relationship that I think that we're looking for, that a lot of tribes are interested in. So Shannon, thinking about this exhibit and your own children or children that you know, what do you think it would mean to them, or what's your hope for future generations reviewing the exhibit?
So for my own kid, he's going to see where the word pa really comes from. And I say that because my kiddo has been lucky enough to get a water bottle from Lise Red at the Southern Ute Indian Tribe. She gave me a water bottle that said pa on it, which is the Ute word for water. So ever since he was 3, he's now almost 9, he's still, like, at night, he gets his pa to have by his bedside. Like, so he just has this sense, a little bit that has rubbed off on me to him about Ute people. And I think for him to get to see photos of the people that I've had the privilege to work with is like, oh, that's the people that Shannon's been working with, that Mom's been working with. So when I think about the fact that he's a Colorado kid who next year is gonna get 4th grade Native American history, and hoping that I can share a little bit and have it be real, have Native Americans and Ute people be alive and not in dioramas and not from 1880, like, that's what it's got to be. And so I hope for all Colorado kids that we bring in their minds Ute people from now, that Ute people are still here, that they're alive.
It's great to hear your perspective, and I think even though we're from 2 separate backgrounds, I think the ultimate goal and what we would ultimately like to see with this exhibit is very much the same. It's thinking about my kids who are growing up in Denver, who go down the Southwest a lot, versus me living there, growing up there, being surrounded by it. I think about the American Indian population that lives off reservation, who don't get to go home as often to learn about their history or learn about their ceremonies. And from them to see, not only in school, but then go through this exhibit that, wow, like, my tribe is real.
Here.
It's here.
In
We've
Denver.
always been here.
Yeah.
We're being recognized. And also, I think the youth from the tribe, I hope that they're proud, that they see the resiliency, that the challenges that they see on the reservation and that they're going through in rural parts of the state, that they can see themselves going through not just history, but being represented in state government, in local government, in history museums, wanting to hopefully be a curator one day. Be like, wow, why can't I build exhibits as well? I think that's something that is just really powerful. It's a really powerful message.
Thanks so much for joining Ernest and I and hearing more about the backstory of how this exhibit, Written on the Land, came to be. These exhibits take a lot of love and time and money, and if you could dig deep and find some space in your wallet, we would love it if you could support Written on the Land. Thank you.
And also, please feel free to share this with your family and your friends. We'd love to see everybody out here at Written on the Land exhibit.